make way for the man who makes us smarter when it comes to college football, one of our favorites. Andy Staples covers college football for On3 Sports. Let's start with Michigan here, because it feels like there's a report about a potential report that Michigan could be facing a postseason ban 1 or 2 seasons. Where do we stand with this, and what exactly are the allegations that could be pending?
Well, so that's from Chris Ballas at our Michigan site, the Wolverine at On3. And basically, this is the Connor Stalions case. This is the advanced scouting, was Connor Stalions and his network of spies going around and videoing people's signals so that he could then relay them to Michigan coaches, which, advanced scouting is against the rules in college football. It was banned in the 90s as a cost-cutting measure, basically one of those, if Toledo can't do it, Michigan can't do it sort of things. And so they get caught doing that last year. That's tacked on to some other stuff that they'd already been working on with Jim Harbaugh, which involved basically him getting a cheeseburger for some guys that were already committed to Michigan that wanted to come in and look at the campus during COVID. But all of that is now getting mashed together, and we're waiting to see what happens. And it could take a long time. And basically, what Chris reported is that they're talking about potentially going after a postseason ban, but it's such a preliminary stage here. Like, this is going to take months to years to get resolved.
Okay.
Michigan's going to fight like hell.
The most pressure, is it in Alabama or in Michigan with these new coaches?
I think it's definitely more on Kalen DeBoer at Alabama than at Michigan, because you knew Michigan was going to lose so much to the draft. But I will say, like, Sharon Moore's first year, it's kind of a nice spot to be in, where everybody thinks Oregon and Ohio State are going to rule the Big Ten. Sharon Moore's got 3 first-round guys on his defense, and Will Johnson and Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant. And you bring Donovan Edwards back. You've got Colson Loveland, a really good tight end. I don't worry about their offensive line with Sharon Moore there. So, like, that's a good place to be kind of sneaky. Hey, you're good, and you still might make the playoff. Alabama, it's Nick Saban retired. Your job, Kalen DeBoer, is to come in and be just as good as Nick Saban. No pressure. Now, I will say, since Kalen DeBoer got there, he's done everything right. It looks like they're going to operate very similarly to the way they operated with Nick Saban. But, man, it's a ton of pressure.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. So no more divisions in the Big Ten and the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because the standings of the college football playoffs with the Big Ten and the SEC. So Notre Dame can't be higher than 5 at the end of the year, right?
That's right.
Okay. But
well, they could be ranked higher, but they're only going to be the 5 seed. That's the best they can do.
So they could be undefeated, but be the 5th seed in the playoffs.
Correct. And it's there's so much.
Are they putting pressure on them to join a conference by doing this?
No, actually, it's the other way around. So their old AD, Jack Swarbrick, helped design this format. And it's basically set up now where if Notre Dame goes 10-2 in most years, they're going to make the playoff. And for them, they're like, you know what? That's good enough for us. Because if you're in a conference, you have to play a conference championship game. So it's essentially like playing a super first round playoff game against maybe an even better team than you would have played. So Jack Swarbrick, the old AD at Notre Dame, just wired this thing for the Irish.
Okay, let's say you win the Big Ten. Are you the 4th seed? Like, how does it work between the SEC and the Big Ten of if you win the conference?
If you win the conference, you can be one of the top 4 seeds. So, like, we're assuming, we don't know, because, like, the ACC could have a great champ who's undefeated, but more than likely, your SEC or your Big Ten champ, that's 1 and 2. Then the 3 and 4 seeds also have to be conference champs. So, like, let's say Florida State wins the ACC, and they're your 3 seed. Well, what if, I don't know, Kansas State or Utah wins the Big 12, but they're like the 11th best team in the country? Doesn't matter. They're the 4 seed. Welcome to college football in 2024.
Okay. See, that's why I'm having you on, because I know we don't have college football for 3 weeks, so I almost need 3 weeks as the primer to get ready for this madness.
Dan, it's going to slap everybody in the face, especially like those of us who are not the complete sickos like me, who just live this 365 days a year. The folks who have been watching the Olympics and they're like, okay, canoe slalom's over. Let's check out college football. They're going to be like, what the hell is this?
Why are schedules going to matter more in the SEC, all conferences here, but
the divisions are gone. So what you're used to, were like Georgia wins the SEC East every year. Well, there is no SEC East now. So Georgia, maybe the best program in the SEC the last few years, got the unlucky draw. They've got to go to Alabama, to Texas, and to Ole Miss, which is just brutal. Texas, meanwhile, first year in the SEC, you think, okay, let's haze the new guy. Nope. They got a pretty easy draw. Meanwhile, Oklahoma, the other new guy in the SEC, their schedule just sucks. Like Tennessee comes to them. They have to go to Auburn the following week. Their last 2 weeks of the season are Alabama comes to them, and then they go to LSU.
Ouch. Last year, our Heisman race came down to guys who transferred. So Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., and Bo Nix. Are we looking at the same scenario this season?
We could see some guys who were transfers last year who are, had that second year bump, like Shedeur Sanders at Colorado. Remember, he was at Jackson State the year before. They're changing offenses. They're hopeful that through the transfer portal, they've improved that offensive line. He got sacked. They gave up 56 sacks last year. So if that happens again, Shedeur is not going to be in the Heisman race. But there's a good chance they get better. You're going to see his numbers improve. But you've also got, speaking of transfers, Riley Leonard, the new quarterback at Notre Dame. Dylan Gabriel coming from Oklahoma to go to Oregon. Like there's a bunch of guys in new places who could put up some big, big numbers.
The over-under for Colorado, I think, is 5.5.
Mm-hmm.
I would have thought it would have been higher, that Deion got humbled last year, that he would have loaded up. Why weren't they able to load up the way maybe, does it just come down to the money that they have to spend?
I think that's part of it. I also think he recruits a little bit differently. He's very transfer portal oriented. The best teams in college football still build their foundations through high school recruiting. They get the best players out of high school. That's what Georgia does, Ohio State does, and then they supplement through the portal. Deion's gone almost completely through the portal. He doesn't do in-home visits. He doesn't do in-school visits for the high school guys. So it's a little bit different. Also, they don't have the kind of money that a Georgia or an Ohio State has. Now, I do think they're going to be better than last year, but better than last year might mean 6-6 and they make a bowl game, not 9-3 and they win the Big 12.
I'm also wondering about this, where we are with money, because I said this a while ago, that what's going to stop a billionaire from just saying, I want my alma mater to be competitive. Here's $25 million. Like, who's doing that? SMU?
Well, that would be fun. They're trying. They are trying, because SMU's actually gotten a little bit back in the game now. Phil Knight and Nike, well, it's more Phil Knight because he's not running Nike anymore, but Phil Knight in Oregon, probably the closest thing to that. They have become a much better recruiting program than they always were. But that doesn't mean they're getting everybody they want. Like the other day, there was a guy that everybody thought was going to go to Oregon. He picked LSU. So there are other rich people who like different schools, and there's still competition for this sort of thing.
But is there a big separation? Ohio State reportedly spending $20 million. What's Georgia spending? Oregon? What's that checkbook?
Ohio State and Oregon are in very similar spheres here. Alabama and Georgia, same thing. They're very competitive. It's like any other market. It's like the market for our jobs, Dan. Like the companies that employ us know what people who do what we do make. And so they're going to come in with competitive offers, but they're not going to come in with stupid offers.
Okay, but what's the going rate for a quarterback?
Well, in the transfer portal this year,
a great quarterback or potential.
Yeah, a potentially good, great. We're actually stretching if we say great, but a potentially good quarterback in the transfer portal this year was $1.5 million per year.
Okay, what's the?
I will point out though, Dan, the franchise tag for a good safety in the NFL is $14 million.
What's the second highest price tag per position?
It's either offensive tackle or defensive tackle, because those are just the rarest of humans. Those humans don't just walk around among us. When you find one, you make sure you pay and keep them.
Who has the rights to UT in the SEC? Tennessee or
Texas?
Texas?
We've decided it's Tennessee, that they were grandfathered in. During SEC Media Days, when we saw the abbreviations, we saw Tennessee was UT and Texas was Tex, which I I think that's fair. Tennessee's, I believe, a charter member of the conference, and Texas is the new guy, so they should get hazed a little bit.
Oh boy, Texas gonna if they're upset about horns down, they got to be upset about UT.
But horns down, by the way, not going to be helped by the SEC. They're like, we don't care. Their director of officials is like, don't care. Horns down them all you want. Texas will get over it. I think they'll be okay with it. They're pretty good at football right now at Texas, so I think they're okay with whatever you want to throw at them, as long as Quinn Ewers is throwing touchdown passes.
Is Lincoln Riley possibly on the hot seat at USC?
I don't think he's on the hot seat, Dan, because he's got this massive contract. I do think he's got to get things turned around. Like, their defense has got to get better. He hired D'Anton Lynn from UCLA to make that defense better. And I've said this for years, going back to Oklahoma, like, it's also a global holistic thing with Lincoln Riley. Like, you have to practice in a way that allows your defense to be physical, that allows your offensive line to be physical, the way Georgia practices, the way Michigan practices. And that's not been USC recently. And I asked Lincoln Riley about that last week, and he said, he and D'Anton Lynn got together and said, here, we're going to make sure we have what we need, but we're going to see it. Like, they play LSU week 1. We'll see if they have done that.
Is college football looking at the NFL with their kickoff rule? Could we see maybe them adopting this?
I would suspect if the NFL feels good about it, if they like what they see, that I think you'll see college football do it too. Because, you go back, Greg Schiano had a player when the first time around at Rutgers, he had a player who was paralyzed on a kickoff coverage team and said, we got to get this play out of the game because it's dangerous. And if you look at the way the kickoff had gone in college football, they hardly ever get returned anymore. So the way the NFL is going to do it is probably going to generate more returns, probably generate a more exciting play. If that works, yeah, I would imagine college football tries to copy it.
Great to talk to you. We're thinking about going to Ohio State, Oregon.
Oh man. Have you been to a game at Autzen yet?
I have not.
It's so good. You will wonder how 60,000 people can possibly be that loud, because they sound like 100,000 and it's only 60,000.
Is there a quiet big stadium though, Andy?
The Big House. And it's like they added a new bank of suites that has helped keep the sound in. But the way the Big House is built, so it's 110,000 seats, it's the biggest stadium in the world. But the architecture just makes it where it's not that loud. Meanwhile, again, across the country, you've got 60,000 seat Autzen, like, blowing your ears out.
But those stadiums go up, Michigan goes out. Like, if you go see the Seahawks play, that's like you're going to a Premier League. I mean, it is loud.
Yeah, I live in Gainesville, Florida, where the swamp is straight up and down. I've had to run the stadium steps there. It is brutal, but it is very vertical, and the sound holds. And that's people forget. Like, everybody's like, my stadium's the loudest. A lot of it is what the architect had to do in 1930 when they built it.
I think I know more than I did before I had you on, Andy. So I'm ready to go, and we'll talk to you during the season.
Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you.
And that's Andy Staples on 3 Sports. Always love having him on.